In the previous class, I have explained little bit about the displacement. That means when we take any instruction, we will identify how far it is from the starting address. So the displacement will occupy 12 bits. And the fourth format. So the fourth format is similar to the third format, that opcode, NIX, BPE, everything is same. But in the last column, we have the address. That address will be of size 20 bits. Okay. So this is what you have seen in the last class. So next we'll continue with the instruction sets what we have in the SIC machine. This one I have explained. While calculating the displacement, if the displacement is in this range minus 2048 to plus 2047, then we have to take the program counter relative addressing mode. Suppose if the displacement what we are going to calculate, if it is behind this one, that is minus 2048 to behind the 2047, at that time we say that displacement will be the positive number between 0 to 4095. At that time we are going to use the base relative addressing mode. This you will be understanding next, what is program counter relative addressing mode and the base relative addressing mode, and how to calculate the displacement. That and all you will be studying next. Before that we have to write a simple programs. So for that we need instructions. So in the SIC machine we have these instruction sets. Okay. So in the SIC machine you have seen the instructions like LDA, STA, right? LDCH, STCH. So whatever the instructions we have in the SIC machine, excuse me. So whatever the instructions we have in the SIC machine are also supported in SIC/XC machine. Okay, along with those instructions we have some additional instructions in the SIC/XC machine. Okay, so we know that in the SIC/XC machine we have a registers BSTF, right? B stands for base register. It is a special purpose register. Okay, and S and T are the general purpose registers where we can use it. S and T are the general purpose registers. We can use it for storing the temporary results. And F is the floating point accumulator. So if I say the instructions LDB, that means we have a registers BSTF. We can use these registers with respect to load and store. So the instructions are, that means in the previous class you have seen LDA, LDX, right? Like that we can use LDB. So here what is the register we are using? B. That means whatever the contents we have in some particular memory location, when we say LDB, the contents which are present in that particular memory location will be loaded on to the register B. Then STB. We can store from the register, base register to the memory location. So at that time we can use STB. What is this triple dot is indicating? Like that we can use the instructions for, we can use LDB and STB instructions for remaining registers, right? Yes, is it audible?
No.
This triple dot is indicating that here they have given the example. Here we have an example only for the B registers. We can use LDB or we can use STB. Like that we can use LDS, we can use LDT, we can use LDF also. Or we can use STS, we can use STT, then we can use STF also. Is it clear? That means we can use those registers. I mean, when I want to store into the register, then from the memory location use LD. When I want to store from the register onto the memory location, use ST. From which register you want to store? Suppose if you want to store from D, then you have to use LDB or STB, like that. Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. 1 second, I will check how many students are there. Okay, good. Today's strength is good. I have not yet downloaded the attend sheet. Okay. Then what is this? Floating point arithmetic operations. In the SIC machine, we have instructions on integers, right? Which are the instructions we have on arithmetic operations in SIC machine? Which are the instructions we have in SIC on arithmetic operations in order to perform arithmetic operations? Add, add, sub, sub, mul, multiply, and division, div. Then what this is indicating? Add f, subtract f, multiplication f, and division f. What this is indicating?
Floating point.
As we know that SIC/XE machine supports floating point operations also. So when we want to perform floating point operations, then we can use add f. That means add f. It is going to make use of this f accumulator, what we have in this floating point accumulator, what we have in the SIC machine. These are similar to add, subtract, multiplication, and division, what you have studied. But here we need to specify f letter, indicating that we are performing operations on floating point. Okay. Then we have register to register arithmetic operations. Register to register arithmetic operations in SIC machine. That means in the last class you have seen the instruction like this, right? Just I will give you example. Okay, just I will give you example. I can use the instruction add. Okay, add alpha you have taken, right? Alpha is the variable. Assume that you have some value in the alpha. So what this instruction will do? Add alpha. It is going to add the contents of the alpha to the accumulator, and the result will be stored in the accumulator only, right? That means here we are using the contents of the memory location alpha, and we are adding with the accumulator, right? Understanding? If you specify add alpha, what will happen? We have a one variable alpha. In that we have some values. So those values will be added with the accumulator, and the result will be stored in the accumulator only. That means we are using two things here. We are using the accumulator. It is a register, and also we are using the memory location, that is nothing but alpha. That means two things are involved here, register and the memory location. But assume that you have only the registers. Okay, that means both the operands are present in registers. That means I will give like this, s comma a. So here we know that in the SIC machine we can make use of this s register and t registers, right? S and T are general purpose registers we used for storing the results temporarily. Okay, that means when operands are present in the registers, that means operands are not present in the memory location like alpha, beta, gamma, what you have taken in the examples. We have the values in the registers. At that time we can give add R. That means add, we have to use the add instruction with respect to the registers. Which are those registers here? S comma A. We are using one register S, and we are using one register, that is nothing but A, accumulator. At that time you will be not having a memory location like add alpha or beta or gamma. You will not specify a memory location in which the operand is present. If you specify R, obviously the source or the two operands must be the registers. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Like that, we can use subtract, we can use multiplication and division. But if you are having a register R, if you are using a letter R in the instruction, the operands must be present in the registers. Operands should not be present in the memory location. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Just you write down the instruction sets, the first three instructions. Last two are not required. Excuse me. Okay, take down the instructions. LDB, STB, add F, subtract F, multiplication F, division F, and register to register arithmetic operations. First three you take down. Okay, then we'll start with the simple programs. That means the programs what we have written in SIC machine, the same programs we'll write by using the SIC/XC machine architecture. That means here we have lot of instruction sets. That means in the SIC machine we have only limited instruction set, but in the SIC slash we have large number of instruction sets. Why? Because we have large number of registers, and also it is supporting the arithmetic operations on floating point. So we have so many instructions in SIC machine, and also it is supporting more number of addressing modes. SIC machine is supporting only the direct addressing mode and the index addressing mode, but this SIC/XC machine is supporting many addressing modes like indirect, direct, that you know directly by default. It is supporting indirect, index, immediate, program counter relative addressing mode, and the base relative addressing mode. Okay, so take down the first program, the same program what you have written in the SIC machine. You have to load the character, take down SIC/XC programs. Side heading you write SIC/XC programs. Write down the side heading SIC/XC programs. Okay, in that the first program you write down, same thing you write number 1 and write this what you are seeing in the Word document. Illide nodi. Load the constant phi. Load the constant phi in alpha variable. Load constant phi in alpha variable. Okay, comma, or you put full stop. Load z in C1 variable. Load z in C1 variable. Write down the program heading. Load constant phi in alpha variable and load z in C1 variable. Z is a character constant here. Phi is a integer constant. Written right? I will explain now by using SIC machine instruction set. So what we have done here, what is this B word phi? What is the statement? What is this instruction? In the variable B, we are storing the integer constant phi, right? We in the variable B, first initially we are storing the integer phi. Then we have declared the alpha variable. Okay, we have declared the variable alpha in which we are going to store the constant phi, right? So B is a integer constant, so use the assembler directive word, and alpha we want to take it we want to store integer value, so you take reserve word, not reserve byte. How many words we are reserving? 1. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to store this constant phi onto the alpha, right? So first what we will do, first you will specify load B LDA B, this instruction. So when this instruction is executed, LDA B, what will happen? It's going to load the contents what we have in the B onto the accumulator. In the B what we have phi, that will get loaded onto the accumulator. Okay, then next statement is STA alpha. So when we say store alpha, what will happen? The contents what we have in the accumulator, that is nothing but phi, will be loaded onto the alpha, right? That means we are storing the constant value in some variable first, later we are using, right? But in case of SIC/XC machine, how we can define the constants? By using the immediate addressing mode, right? I'm repeating. In SIC machine, according to this program, what we have done, we have stored this phi in a variable b. Later, we have moved the contents of b onto the alpha, right? So here what we have done, we have defined the variable and the constant. But in the SIC/XC machine, in order to define a constant, which type of addressing mode we can use? Immediate addressing mode, right? Understanding my point? Yes, is it audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Understanding then, in the SIC/XC machine, we can use immediate
Yes,
addressing
ma'am.
mode. Yeah, in SIC/XC machine, we can use immediate addressing mode. So what is, how we will define phi now? That means how we are going to use the constant phi now. We will say the instruction LDA, this one. I'm explaining now from the PDF. Okay, then we will say the instruction LDA #5. That means we are loading the constant phi onto the register LDA. That means first we will not store this phi onto the B register, what we have done in the SIC machine. Okay, first what we have done, we have defined phi and we have stored it in a B variable. Later we have moved the contents onto the accumulator, then we have loaded onto the alpha. And this phi by using a word assembler directive. That means we have defined constants. But SIC/XC machine is supporting immediate addressing mode. So no need to declare the constant by using a word assembler directive. Directly we can use, or directly we can store it into the accumulator. So what we are doing directly, we are specifying LDA #5. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ in the SIC/XC machine, we have set LDA B. That means in the B we have declared phi as the constant. Later we have stored that constant phi onto the accumulator. That means two statements we are using here, B word phi and LDA B. But in case of SIC machine in case of SIC/XC machine, directly you load the constant value onto the accumulator by declaring it directly in the instruction. What we are declaring or what we are writing, LDA #5. So this LDA #5 is going to load the constant value phi onto the accumulator. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now in the accumulator we have phi. So later where we have to store that phi onto which variable according to the program? Into the alpha variable. So what is the instruction we will give? STA alpha. That alpha variable you declare by using the reserve word. Understood? In the accumulator we have phi. Now you move that on to the alpha. Okay, so use STA alpha. So later below that instruction, and you will declare the alpha variable. So declare the alpha variable by using the reserve word. How many words we are reserving? One word. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this next? LDA #90, then STCH C1. That means first you declare a C1 variable by using the reserve byte. Why? Because C1 we are storing a one character constant. So use C1 reserve byte. What is this #90? Look into the comment line in the Word document. LDA 90 #90. What it is indicating? We are taking the ASCII value of this Z. What is the ASCII value of this Z?
90.
When we are storing it onto the variable C1, that means next statement we are saying STCH C1. That means store this, whatever the contents we have in this accumulator, that is nothing but 90. We are storing it onto the C1 variable. We know that C1 variable we have declared it as byte, reserve byte, not as reserve word. So at that time, it will load the character Z onto the C1 variable whose ASCII value is 90. Understood? When we are saying stch C1, how we have declared this C1? C1 we have declared by using the reserve byte, not by using the reserve word. That means it has to store the character onto the C1. What character it will store? The ASCII value of the Z is 90, so the Z will be stored onto the C1.